Hello, welcome or welcome back. Today we got the UFC 325 predictions. Last night was UFC 324. It's a rare occasion we get back-to-back numbered events. Starting off Paramount, right? Obviously Volkanovski Lopez too. There's gonna be an Australia card. I'm not really sure which part of Australia it's in. I should probably know that, but I don't. It's just Australia right now. Um, I'm pretty sure the first handful of bouts in this card are like finales or something, or just more rounds of Road to UFC or some shit. You know where they're at in the world or in that side of the world. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna talk about those fights. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't pay attention to Road to UFC. I don't really. I see the clips that the UFC posts, and I try to pay attention to the storyline and the best I can through that. So I'm not really educated in that field. But anyway, let's start off with this first fight on the early prelims. Khan Ofli versus Yiza. Australia versus China, if I'm not mistaken. Not gonna try to sit here overthink it, but both of these guys lost to Marion Santos, so I put here on my trusty composition that both of these guys are Marion Santos's sons. Khan Ofli, I was trying to find like videos of him or whatever. I found a couple, whatever. Wasn't too entertained or whatnot. But I was looking on Reddit, unfortunately. A lot of people were talking shit about his last win against Ricardo Ramos. That because he did win. He won by rear naked choke, if I'm not mistaken, or sub. But everyone was talking about. It was on the UFC Rio card. They were all calling him trash. He was grabbing the fence, calling him a cheater. And I'm pretty sure in the Reddit, it was also talking about how, like, when, he got his hand raised or whatever, when he got his hand raised, the whole arena was booing. So, they were saying it was finally a valid reason for Brazil to, boo. You know how the Brazil crowd be. Not the best crowd out there. No hate to Brazil though. Love Brazil. Love Brazil. Beautiful, beautiful country. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm going Yiza by submission, either armbar, rear naked choke. If I'm about to say a round, I don't know. Hopefully in the first round. I hope he gets him in and out of there. I don't really rate Khan Ofli too high at all. I think he should get cut after he gets demolished in this fight. Yiza, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce him. I'm going to go Yiza. He's a dog, man. He looks like he knows what's up. Unfortunately, he is 1-2 in the UFC though, so hopefully we can make it 2-2. Going Yiza by submission. Hopefully round one. Second fight on the card, we got Jonathan McAuliffe versus Oban Elliott. Australia versus Wales. What I wrote down, I said this is a rescheduled bout. I don't remember the last time it was supposed to be for. I think last year, obviously. He has 3 finishes in his last 3 fights, and he has hella momentum going into this fight. Jonathan McAuliffe. He's 1-0 in the UFC though, so his 2 KOs were before the UFC. But he's still on 3 finishes in his last 3 fights. So that's very, very, very important here. Oban Elliott, looking at his record, he's only really usually winning by mostly decisions or whatever. He's 3-1 in the UFC. Oban Elliott's not good, bro, but I think he's just kind of like a. I'm not trying to, say this as trying to be rude, but he's kind of just like a journeyman, bro. Like, yeah, he's 3-1, so he definitely is winning more than he's losing, but I could see him just kind of sticking around, like, outside the rankings. Maybe not right outside the rankings, but a little bit outside the rankings and not really going up much farther than that. But that's just my honest opinion. But here I wrote down, I got Oban Elliott winning by decision, just tanking it through like he does. Just holding it down, maybe slowly outboxing him just a little bit. I don't know. I really don't know until we watch the fight, obviously. But so I'm going with Oban Elliott winning by decision, but I would not be surprised if Jonathan somehow found the chin of Oban Elliott, rocked him in any sort of way, and then followed up and got a little bit of a TKO. But my final prediction is Oban Elliott by decision. Third fight, terrorist of the sport, Torres Finney versus Jacob Malkoun, Australia versus the U.S. Unfortunately, we have to claim Torres Finney, but he's undefeated, 11-0. We all watch his last fight, bro, and we all know his story about just like took him a couple fights, a couple wins on Contender Series to actually get in the UFC and let Dana actually come forth with wanting to sign him or whatever. Really bad last fight, and he won. Keep in mind he's 11-0. He literally smudged Robert Valentin up against the fence and just wrestle fucked him and literally just graped him. But not even like a good like impression, like where it was like a good impression or it was impressive. That's what I really meant to say. I remember the ref. I think it might have been Mark Goddard. I could be wrong. I don't know really off the top of my head. I didn't watch the fight backs. Who the fuck wants to watch that shit back? Holy shit. Yeah, basically, Torres Finney was just smudging Robert Valentin up against the fence, like I said, or just like holding him down. The ref literally had to like, separate them like once or twice, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even 3 times. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong for Torres Finney's sake. And then, literally nothing happened. The ref would literally stand them up or like separate them. Torres Finney's instantly shooting again. It is actually so crazy, and it was so like it made me upset. And I'm pretty sure it was in the Apex too. So like, what the fuck's going on, man? I hope that something, dude. He has finishes on his record. I just hope he does. He isn't like. I feel like maybe he was just too like cautious last time. No, I don't. I don't know. I'm not trying to defend Torres Finney, bro, against Robert Valentin, who is scary. You know what I mean? But listen, my prediction here is Torres Finney. He actually tries to put forth, effort towards the boxing or going for a TKO and say he gets it, just like straight up KOs, dude. Maybe we just fight an overhand or something. I don't know. Hopefully it's just like a hook cross. Maybe a 1-2, a simple 2-piece combo that just really gets him, or he wins by decision. He's gonna stand defeat. He's gonna be 12-0. I just don't see him losing, and if he does, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm going Torres Finney by TKO or decision. Probably decision. My final prediction on that. Next fight, middleweight bout versus Cam Rowston versus Cody Brundage. This is what I wrote down. Cam Rowston, he's on a 5-fight win streak outside and inside the UFC. He has 2 subs and 2 KOs and I think a decision or something like that in his last 5 fights. He's coming off 2 first-round finishes. And, that's a lot of momentum coming in for someone like Cody Brundage, who I wrote down here is literally just a mini Pekka. And, the famous stat of Cody Brundage, his last 5 fights were a no contest, a canceled bout, a draw, a loss, and a win. It's pretty impressive, I'm not going to lie. But my final prediction here for this fight is Cam Rowston either gets a first-round finish or Cody mini Pekkas his way to a decision. But I really think Cam Rowston's going to find it here. If not, he's just going to batter Cody Brundage down for 3 rounds. I think the first round could be a little hard for Cam just because Cody's, going to come forth pretty hard or whatever. But I think Cam will survive that and just slowly batter him down. And maybe the damage even adds up. Or maybe Cody tries to wrestle and just gasses out and gets finished. I don't know. I hope if it's a finish here for Cam so he can be on a 3-finish win streak. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, that's my final prediction. Cam Rowston by first round finish. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm just going to say Cam by decision. I'm not going to say first round finish. Just know that was my gut take, though. So if that happens, I'm still right. Yeah, Cam Rowston by decision. Next fight. Then we're almost on to some good fights. Junior Tafa versus Billy Elikana. And listen, I fuck with Billy, bro. My first fight I ever saw him fight was against Bogdan Guskov, and I think he took it on short notice. There's something happened to, or something. I don't know. I think something happened to where something happened short notice. He did lose or whatever, but then he won his next 2 fights after that, and they were decent. I think I remember watching them like at work, so I wasn't like 100% focused on. I was out here serving tables while trying to peep it while I could in between running these plates or whatever, and assisting these tables. But this is what I wrote down. Listen, dude, Junior Top is 6-4 in the UFC, or maybe 6-4 in general. Probably 6-4 in general. And I'm mad every time I watch him fight. That's all I wrote down. Billy Elikana is 9-2. He can get pretty tentative if he feels like he needs to, but I'll never bet on Tafa, bro. And then my prediction here is obviously Billy getting a sub or KO in round 1 or round 2. There's a finish happening. It could be any way. If Junior Tafa, gets a need once, he's going to give up. And I could see, Billy's locking up a Darce or like a Anaconda or just something, right there. Maybe even a ninja choke and Junior just tapping immediately. I just don't see anything. Listen, this is, if I'm not mistaken, Junior Tafa, every other bout he has is canceled. So, I really don't know. I'm lost with him. I don't know if this is his light heavyweight debut. I'm pretty sure it is, and his last fight was supposed to, but then he pulled out for whatever reason. He was looking pretty ripped or whatever. He's looking pretty lean in this photo, too, on the UFC website, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully, him going to light heavyweight changes and we see a Tafa arc happen. A whole new shift in the universe that makes the Tafa Bros become world champions. We'll see though. Yeah, Billy by sub or KO round 1 or round 2. Fight 6, Quillen Salkill. This is the main card now. Quillen Salkill versus Jamie Malarkey, some Australian on Australian violence. It was supposed to be Wangzhou or however you say it, but he pulled out for it. I don't know if it was an injury or whatever, but he ended up pulling out. Now it's Jamie Malarkey. This is actually going to be a good fight, but this is what I wrote down. I got Quillen by TKO. I'm just going to tell you that right now. First or second round, in my opinion. I wrote Quillen's 10-1 on a 10-fight win streak. We all know the run he's on right now, and it's time to get that Australian versus Australian violence. And the common denominator between these two people is Nazarat Hakparas, however you say his name. I hope I said it right. Jamie Malarkey got finished by Nazarat. And, Quillen head kicked Nazarat. All because, the bakery shit or whatever. Listen, we're just going to do the MMA math on this one. Quillen's going to, you know what I mean? He's going to walk in and out of there. Make his name even bigger in Australia. Let's go. But at the end of the day, it's sportsmanship between these two Aussies giving it a fucking run for their money for their fucking bloodline. What more do you want than that, for real? So I wrote down for Jamie Malarkey. He's 18-8. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He got finished by Nazarat. Always losing either by decision or TKO. Quillen Salkill by first or second round TKO. Next fight, the return of Tai Tuivasa versus Taliesin Teixeira. Australia on Brazil violence. This is either gonna go just like Waldo and Derek Lewis, but Taliesin Teixeira is Waldo and Tai Tuivasa is Derek Lewis. I think I'm expecting a firefight in the first round, but I think Taliesin's gonna play the outside, play the distance, kind of beat up Tui coming. Every time he tries to come in, Tui will probably land a couple shots, but I don't think it'll be anything too flatlining unless he just lands and straight up bombs Taliesin, which would be fucking crazy. But Taliesin is tall as fuck, bro. I don't know the height difference. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Taliesin's 8-1. Tuivasa's 15-8. Both coming off a loss. Yeah. Tuivasa is 6'2" and Teixeira is 6'7". So it's a 5-inch, height advantage. That could be good. That could be good for Taliesin to help him manage the outside and to out tit for tat him for 3 rounds to a decision. That's really what I see happening. But if there is a finish, I could see Tai fluking this shit. The Tuivasa return just happens. It's great, and we will never forget it. But I don't see that happening. I think this layoff is going to be hard for Tuivasa. We all saw the state he was in, a little like half a year ago. He was so big, bro. So listen, I'm not trying to sit here and hate on dude. I hope he wins just for the return, the storyline. This is what I want as a fan. But if I'm doing it, being unbiased, looking at them, going, macro for macro or whatever you want to say, I'm going Taliesin Teixeira by KO or decision. But I think I wrote down officially Taliesin is taller and will pick apart Tai and find the finish unless Tai gets a KO somehow. Anyway, fight number 8, Fiziev versus Mauricio Rufy. This is going to be a really good firefight. Standing only. No way this goes to the ground unless Rufy decides to actually change up his game plan because he decides he actually wants to start winning to win, get closer to the belt and starts wrestling because he's been grappling in Australia. Lord knows if he's been working with Craig Jones. I don't know. I know he's been working with Volk's team. That's still pretty good within itself. So I hope that Rufy does try to grapple to actually try to do something to try to make this fight more in his favor, even on the scorecards to the judges. If working those 15 minutes, but I could just see this being a strike for strike. And what I wrote down is Fiziev decisions unless Rufy somehow chins Fiziev. So I think I'm gonna go my final prediction Fiziev by decision. Yeah, that's really it. It's gonna be. I hope there's hella highlights though. There's gonna be hella spinning kicks. I could see Viziev doing his fucking lean back, hella doing what he needs to do, countering, coming back with the trigger drills. Shout out Tubbs. You know what I'm saying? Counter a fucking not even counter, but just block a head kick, come back instantly with something. Yeah, Fiziev's like that. He's straight Muay Thai, so I could see him just like battering down or getting battered. But I'm gonna go with Fiziev by decision. That's my ultimate prediction. Next fight, we got Benoit Saint Denis versus Dan Hooker. Now, this one is good. This one's good. This is what I wrote down. Benoit Saint Denis definitely is going to try to spam the grappling here. I thought, Dan would have been significantly taller than Benoit Saint Denis, but I think he's only an inch taller. Yeah, he's 6 foot and Benoit is 5'11". Has 2-inch reach, 2 inches height, not height, leg, 2 inch longer leg or whatever. It doesn't even matter. Listen, I think Benoit's gonna try to spam the grappling here. I think Dan, he has decent takedown defense, so I think he could definitely just like stuff that, stop that, and make Benoit pay for it by kind of timing shots as Benoit's coming in with the shot. You know what I mean? So kind of uppercut him as he comes in. I could see him really even rocking him with a knee and then following up with a TKO, and that's how Dan wins. Maybe like in the second or third round. I do see this first round being a scrap, honestly. Benoit, it's either one or the other, composure or just coming out to scrap immediately. But I could see him trying to stay composed, try to mix up the grappling with the striking or whatever. But we'll see. My final prediction is Dan Hooker wins. Going Dan Hooker decision based off output and damage from the striking. Or maybe BSD subs him somehow, gets his back, gets the body triangle, and works in the rear naked, or just face cranks him to oblivion or something. But I think Dan Hooker's too tough to even tap. I think he'll go to... I mean, I could see him tapping, but almost going to sleep instead of just like tapping right away, if you know what I mean. But not even that. But he's definitely not going to back down. He did get destroyed by Armin recently, so I hope his head's still good. I don't think it's been 6 months. It's been it was like the last card of the year, was it not? Maybe not the last card, but one of, you know what I mean? That's like a couple months ago, bro, or like a month ago. So hopefully, he's still not feeling too hurt from that fight. His head was swollen pretty bad. But I'm going to go Dan Hooker decision here. But just know there is a chance that Benoit could somehow cockroach a sub. But yeah, Dan Hooker by decision. Main event. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Listen, I was in Miami for the first one. I saw it with my own fucking eyes. We saw them knock each other down at the same time. They didn't knock each other down, but they both rocked each other with I think Volk threw a hook and Diego threw an uppercut, and it was like, bro, it was just beautiful. It just honestly was just beautiful. The whole fight was beautiful. But listen, I can tell Diego's been working on his grappling hella. Just in general, been wrestling with Ohio State, I'm pretty sure. Or some college. And we saw it in the Gene Silva fight. He was prepared to grapple. He was there to scrap. And I think that grit just carries Diego. But I just think Volk is just going to do what he did in the first fight. And that's my honest opinion. This is what I wrote down. Volk. Featherweight GOAT. Could see him decisioning Diego again. The fight was kind of close, but Volk won more rounds and it was more obvious. As far as Diego Lopez goes, he's been working on grappling heavy. Could see him try to implement that, but I think that Volk's takedown defense is too good. I said, and Diego could gas out from that, from trying to implement the grappling too much. Diego's cardio is good. He scraps until the end. He obviously slowed down a little bit against Volk in the first fight towards the end, but he still was there, essentially barely matching Volk's pace. Volk, they were both tired. They were both going crazy for it. It was a close fight. Obviously, like I said, Volk did enough to make it clear, but still, you all saw the damage on both of them. Keep in mind, that's Volk's last fight. Diego has had one more fight since that, which was Gene Silva, and we saw how that went. Congratulations, Diego, for a beautiful performance on that. Obviously, we all know that. Spinning back elbow, Gene Silva bleeding everywhere. It was beautiful. It was art. You know what I'm saying? I want to say it's beautiful. That sounds kind of crazy, but you know what I mean. It's just like looking at it and taking it in for what it is. I love that shit. Especially in the sportsman setting. Obviously if I don't see that shit on the street. I mean, dude, I would probably appreciate it if it happened out in the street, but like, you know, I'm not trying to see violence out in public in the octagon. But this is what I wrote down for my prediction. I'm going Volk again in the rematch. Would it be surprised if Diego's grappling somehow makes a difference here, just from all the, you know, if he just really just started working on it crazy, and say somehow we're just like all surprised by that. Diego's grappling is outdoing Volk, and you know maybe he's getting the back, scrambling good, ending up in better positions or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I think Volk's takedown defense is too good to, you know, even let Diego's takedowns try to get a chance. Like I said, unless somehow we all get surprised that Diego is just the new Islam Makhachev or something. But yeah, Volk by decision or somehow finds a shot and dropping Diego and getting a TKO. Listen, Diego did drop Volk in the last fight, so you know maybe Diego could get the KO here, and maybe that is the real prediction: Diego by KO in the rematch, and then they run the trilogy. Who knows? But that would be a crazy outcome, and you know that'd be a crazy way for Volk to end his career, bro. Trilogy against Diego Lopez, and winning to get his belt back, become a 3-time featherweight champ. Imagine that. But listen, I'm going Volk by decision again. He's just gonna outvet him, outclass him, and just show you know he's gonna sun him like he did the first time. That's my final prediction on that. I'm looking forward to it. Always love a numbered event. Love a Volk fight, and you know, Australia cards usually suck. This one's decent, but it's not as bad as you know fucking DDP versus Strickland, bro. So I'll take it for what we can get. I appreciate y'all for watching my predictions. I feel like I was a little not like too chattery, but you know, coffee has me tweaking low key. About to go work out on this fucking ice storm day. That fucking everything is covered in ice, but it's chill though. You know, it has a weird vibe of the day. It's not like a rainy day. It's kind of its own weird thing. It's chilly outside or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, just destroyed my mic. You guys take care. Have a good night. Thank you.